Eugene and I am the Programs Director at Genius Plus Academy. Now today we are going to have a discussion on how we view technology and how technology can be used as a good tool for learning, but also technology can be destructive when it comes to learning. I'm here with Jing Yong, who is one of our principal tutors here at Genius Plus Academy, and we're going to talk about how the home-based learning experience has been. Right, and I'll share my viewpoint because I'm also an A-level economics tutor, while he's going to share his viewpoint as a primary school tutor. So how the home-based learning actually differs between the different levels. Right, so Jing Yong, how do you feel about the entire home-based learning experience for your students?
I find that it has been less meaningful for a lot of my students because I think they are at the age where independent learning is not something that has been drilled into them compared to the upper levels. So as a result, they often struggle to cope with a lot of the work having to be done on their own without the assistance of a tutor or even the teachers in school. So they find it to be a struggle, and I think a lot of parents have feedback that it was a struggle for them because they are the ones taking over the role of the teachers at home, and now they are the ones having to teach the kids what to do for their assignments.
Now, for my case, is a little bit different. Actually, 70% of my students are on a voluntary basis doing Zoom classes. They find that they benefit more from Zoom than coming for on-site classes. Even they actually have the explicit option for coming for on-site classes. I've spoken to some of my students, the ones that don't go for Zoom classes, they like to come for on-site classes, is that they find that when there's a lot of Zoom lessons, there's a lot of fatigue. Okay, it's, I think what we call Zoom fatigue, where you are attending one live stream lesson after another. There's a lack of social interaction, there's a lack of eye-to-eye contact, and there's a lack of engagement in general. So students find that if they're doing independent learning all day long, it's very tiring. And I think that Zoom fatigue can set in at all levels, but I would say that it is indeed easier for the upper levels to actually do Zoom learning as opposed to the lower levels, and I believe it's the same for primary school, right?
Yes. For your lower primary students, they tend to be more easily distracted. So having to stare at a computer screen for an extended period of time is not something that they are used to doing or something that they find particularly interesting, and therefore they will always go and look for other things to do. And of course, you have those students who know that, oh, I'm sitting in front of a computer, what can I access on the computer? I can open up the browser, look for YouTube videos, play computer games. So there have been occasions where parents have caught their child, instead of learning, actually doing other things. And that is a problem that Zoom lessons present for students who lack. I think the keyword here we are looking for is the idea of discipline.
So I guess based on our discussion so far, our recommendations for primary school students would be as such. So for lower primary in general, I think that Zoom actually is not so beneficial, right?
No, I would say that I think lower primary students require a lot more physical engagement. So even in classroom, we deal with a lot of manipulatives. So things like building blocks, things like actual counting of chips, things to actually physically engage them within the classroom so that the lesson is not just in theory, but they are actually doing things. So that is the application process that we want to drill into students so that as they move up to higher levels, they are familiar with the application process. So that's obviously not something you can do via Zoom. Sure, there are resources online that you can let the students access, but you are not sure how steadfast they will be through accessing the resources. So for lower primary students, we definitely encourage them to attend physical lessons. But for upper primary lessons, we do not straight away make any recommendation. What we want to ensure is we speak with the parents. So we will schedule a consultation with the parents and the child, and then that is where we sit down to discuss whether or not the parents think that their children are suitable for Zoom lessons, because parents would know their kids best. So if you think that your kid lacks discipline, if you think that your kid is likely to be distracted and instead of attending the Zoom lesson be engaged on the YouTube browser, so on and so forth, we obviously do not recommend Zoom lessons. But if you think that your child is a strong independent learner and able to follow with minimal guidance required from the tutors, then that is where we strongly encourage them to attend on Zoom, because that actually saves up a lot of time. Imagine you spend 1 hour traveling for tuition and you have 4 subjects, that is 4 hours of traveling time that you save that could be otherwise spent more productively.
Okay, so let me just simplify and summarize our conclusion to this topic. We have all of our equipment set up. So we have a 4K camera, we have good quality microphones, and our entire lighting and our setup is done nicely such that we have no problems delivering a proper Zoom live stream experience. So that is completely fine. For me personally, we have gone through a couple of years doing live stream even before COVID-19. So we're actually quite experienced in doing Zoom lessons. But I would say that while we are making the experience available from primary 1 all the way until primary 6, we actually strongly recommend that primary 1 to primary 3 students go for live classes. But that is not to say that Zoom is not available. Zoom lessons are available, but more of on a need-to basis. Let's say this week you're having difficulty planning your schedule and you have a CCA going on, you have supplementary classes going on, and it might be more convenient for you to attend Zoom for the specific week. Or maybe you just live so far away and you want access to our lessons, then perhaps out of necessity as opposed to being a choice, you will go for our Zoom lessons instead. But for P4 to P6, we won't even say that, please come for Zoom classes, even though, technically in terms of Zoom classes, it's more convenient for the parent or for the child. But I don't think that, right, it should be about, how many students we can take in. I think it's actually responsible and important to set up a meeting with the parents, to have a proper discussion. And so that is what exactly we would do. So for all parents who, say, hey, we want to try out the Zoom option, we'll say, hey, why don't you come down for a consult session with our tutors first? Let us have a discussion and see whether Zoom is actually that great an option for your child. So if the child is more or less an independent learner and is disciplined enough to actually do Zoom classes, I think that's fine. That is actually our take on technology. Technology can be helpful, and for my case at the JC level is totally not a problem. But for primary school level, while we offer Zoom classes, we don't think that Zoom classes are appropriate for everyone, and so that's basically our take on that.